I've learnt a lot about, time is everything. As cruisy as I am, there's certain things I want in this time frame and in this life. I know now. Um, you know, I suppose what I want to leave behind, working towards things like that. How I want to set up my family, how I want to be known in my family. I'm Auntie Emma, I'm mum, I'm niece, and all these things. But it's taking a backseat to all of that now and setting that up.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy and life with yours truly, Michael Kahan. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Today's guest has a deep soul. She's reflective, passionate, and has lived an incredibly interesting life with a unique perspective. Emma comes from the legendary Donovan family, and she's certainly lived up to the family name. She has a powerful voice and delivers a powerful rendition of the iconic song, Take Me to the River. You have to watch the music clip. It's raw, soulful, and incredibly moving. Check it out in the episode notes. Okay, this chat was a lot of fun. Let's get into it. Emma Donovan is an acclaimed Indigenous Australian singer and songwriter, best known for her work with soul bands, the Putbacks and the Black Arm Project. She's one of Australia's most celebrated voices, with a career spanning over 2 decades. She's carved a singular path that fuses gospel, country, and soul with the storytelling traditions of her culture. First emerging as a teenager with the Stiff Gins, Emma went on to front the Putbacks, whose albums Dawn, Crossover, and Under These Streets earned her critical acclaim and cemented her as a vital force in Australian music. She's performed at iconic stages across Australia, and she's become a guiding voice for the next generation of First Nation artists, and in 2021 was inducted into the National Indigenous Music Awards Hall of Fame alongside her family band, the Donovans. Emma's previous album, Till My Song Is Done, was nominated for an ARIA and won an AIR Award last year. She's also toured and recorded with the likes of Archie Roach, Ruby Hunter, Paul Kelly, amongst others. As you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot, and we chat about leaving legendary bands and going solo, being on play school, nerves, community, improving and getting better with age, collaboration, loss and grief, the Donovan musical family, confidence, burnout, Take Me to the River cover, plus plenty more. Just as a heads up, we do briefly cover mental health and some heavier topics only for a really short time, but the conversation as a whole is incredibly light and empowering. And before we get into this chat, I'd love it if you would share the podcast, follow, like, subscribe. You know the drill. It allows me to lock in amazing guests like this one, and it really helps me grow the podcast. Thanks so much. Okay, cool. Let's get into it.
I think this could be a fun place to start. I believe you're on play school and that was one of your career highlights. I'd love to know what that experience was like for you and how you got it.
Oh, I can't remember. I know that the team had asked us to be a part of it. But yeah, I remember just being on that set and just getting so excited about the toys. It was funny because you do this like rehearsal, and there's one lady there who's just, she's sewing and making sure that all the parts are, right on the doll. So I just remember just having to be so fragile with these little dolls. I was just like, oh, and I think there was one part where it's like, I was finished and I left it, and I was like, oh, I've got to go and put that back, and I was treating it. Yeah, all I can think of was how I tell my kids, to look after their toys. I turned into this mum and wanted to make sure that the toys were all, they were the stars, and also toys that I'd looked up to on TV, growing up as a kid. So it was pretty amazing experience. And now when I even look back at it, we wrote, we read the book on that show about, the voting for the referendum, which is, I kind of haven't looked back at it since, especially after, the country voted no. So, now even just talking about that, I'm just like, I still contributed, that was my contribution to, education and young fellas, hopefully understanding a little bit more about what that was about. But yeah, more importantly, having a sing and being in that whole space.
Yeah. What a milestone. What were the toys? Were they the similar toys? Did they add different toys for you?
Well, there was a brand new character called Kaya, which is, in Kaya, in Noongar language, which is my grandmother's language. It means hello Kaya is like hi or hello, in Noongar. And it's a language my kids have learnt through their grandmother, my dad's, family.
Yep.
So there was that, and then there was, Ted and Jemima. And
I
was just
remember Jemima, yeah.
I was like, I think if you feel, I was saying one of your questions about being successful. I think you would feel pretty successful, knowing that you could be a part of something like Play School.
Definitely. One of the potentially the biggest Australian shows of all time. Do you remember that moment when you got that call or that email or whoever told you saying you're going? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I remember when I got there, at the ABC studios, one of the producers was like, "Ems, just go out there, like before we start filming and doing stuff, like just to kind of like breathe it in and just, so you're not too like." And I'm glad I did that.
Well, I could imagine because it would be quite overwhelming. Also being on TV as well, that's already a bit heightened. But then just seeing a set that you've watched over all these years, just to kind of like calm, learn about the space. And were you nervous after that, or that really helped with nerves?
I was really nervous, but geez, there's some beautiful people in that space that,
Oh, nice.
Are very helpful and make you feel like pretty much all they want to do is make you feel comfortable. So
that's important on TV.
I was really in the arms.
And nerves in general, I don't know how many TV spots that you've done, but that's already like the biggest. Is it a different type of nerves compared to performing, like within a group or solo?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty much the same. I think my nerves started, like my stomach was really when I sat down and I sang the song and we were just doing the songs because I was like, I need to get this right.
Yeah.
I was kind of a bit starstruck, seeing the, forget the name of the, the person that always, plays piano for them. I was like, that was my moment where I just went, wow, I'm here. We're talking about the keys and, the singing the songs.
Nice. And from the success moment, what was that like afterwards? You like, was that your I've made it moment, or did you feel it before?
Yeah. Family was just, going crazy that they'd seen me on Play School. It was a while, I think, up until when they aired it. So I had to kind of
Yeah, just every day wait for it.
Didn't really share much waiting. I think it was like a few months out. But then I remember my daughter just catching one of the, what's it called? Like the ads leading up to it.
Yep.
And just her face, she's like, Mom, yeah. Because, we watch Play School.
Yeah.
And she was just, yeah, my mom. And then it got,
That's beautiful.
That was the best feeling, seeing the daughter's reaction.
Of course. And, something that you could connect with your daughter as well, something that she watches. Would you say that was one of your career milestones? Was that one of your...
Oh, yep. Yep, for sure.
Amazing.
Yep, definitely being a part of it. Yeah.
And then from the family side, I think this is really important. You come from like a legendary family of musicians. For everyone around, did they all get to share in the moment? Did you have like a screening party? Did you show it to them, or they just watched it different?
Nah, they just watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No screening party. Probably just my daughters, just, when they would see it over and over, or, screaming out, Mom, you're on TV.
Did they tell you? Because I don't know anyone that's been on Play School. I'm very, very impressed and very happy for you. Do they say we'll be out in 3 months at this time? This is your segment. Do they give you a bit of a...
Yeah. They give you a lead up. Yeah. Probably like a month or two out. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Is it also interesting because the life of a musician, you have many great gigs and you have many less than great gigs. And we were sort of talking off air about they can be technical issues, or maybe the gig doesn't quite go to plan. I know when you were first starting out, I think your mum recognized that you had talent as a singer, and you started out in a talent show. Do you remember any of those talent shows, or what your parents have
Oh,
told you about
I
them?
I remember them like yesterday. That's what started me in music. I would say my mum was similar to a dance mum. Do you know the dance mums?
Yeah, yeah,
She was,
yeah.
bless her, that she never ever seen them. But I remember when dance mums were coming in, and my nieces, my older nieces, were like, "That was Nan, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly how Nan was. Only I was the singer, and I was a little guinea pig, I reckon." What she wanted me to be was what she always imagined for her life. So it meant so much more to her, me getting up and singing and just the proudness. So the talent quests were actually around Tamworth Country Music Festival. So
Yeah.
I would go up just before. I remember going in talent quest where I was like under 12. So these were these competitions that, it was like busking, and then it was like busking comps, and then there would be like arcade and street comps, and it would all be
Oh,
around the time of the Country Music Fest. First couple of years I went up, I was singing with my brother, and he was shy as me. I was a shy kid. I was like not, they had to bribe me, or I was very shy in myself, in my body. But I think what music made me feel when I sang was a whole other feeling. So that's what I loved. And
brilliant.
then once mum seen all of that, she just encouraged. And so my thing was to go back every year. You'd get judging sheets,
Yep.
and it'd be split up in like 100 points, like what you're wearing, what your song choice was, what your diction, vocal ability, crowd participation, all these
Oh, it's
little
like pretty
categories.
thorough, yeah.
And it was pretty, yeah, full on. And then every year I'd go back, and mum would like, I'd read comments, and she'd be like, "Look at this, Emma, you need to do this, blah, 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 better next time." So that was the thing. That's what started me.
That's so brilliant. There's a few things that spring to mind. I'll go with this. Was your mum super encouraging, or was it more, were there like
Oh,
elements like you didn't do this, or was it more just she
oh,
could?
there was a lot of arguments. Most of the time it was over my hair. So like, so when I was a kid, I had like a really big, thick afro,
Oh, cool.
and she'd make all my outfits for Tamworth, and you might have seen some of the attire, but there was always a hat, like a
Yeah,
cow
I
cow
saw a cowboy hat on
cowboy
one of
hat,
them.
and so because of my tight afro curls, it would sit like that, and so that when I'd take it off, it'd make like a shape. The shape would still stay there, and I hated it. I was such a little teenager. I was like, not anything to draw attention. And then my cousins would be terrible, so I'd have to sing in front of all the cousins, and they'd knock. Some of them would be nasty to me. They'd knock it off my head, and then I'd start arguing, start
Oh,
fighting with the cousins, and then I'd be in tears. So yeah, going off that a little bit, but most of the times it was like mum just trying to prep me. I was stubborn, I was shy, and then I'd have to get up there and sing.
I know
But
your
yeah,
mum was a huge influence for you, and I know you've spoken about
yep.
more recently, and that's so nice to hear. It's all out of love. But it's also like to me so interesting when you've got your cousins teasing you, you're potentially crying, all of that stuff, which is probably not ideal for a performance, and then you get up and perform after all of
Then
that.
I
Could
get
you?
up and perform. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there was always drama, and then little argument with mum, a couple of cousins looking at me, teasing me, and then I'd have to get up and be this thing.
Yeah.
um, I still feel like there's a lot of drama that goes on these days, and I still have to get up there and just kind of get over myself or whatever's going on, all kinds of things going on, but you got to get up and still perform. But that's where I love it. I guess that's where I've learnt to kind of go, nah, this is my happy place. This is where I'm gonna get everything out of having a sing and that time to share my tunes.
That is such a beautiful mindset on life because, life, it doesn't always go to plan. There's all these things happening, but you just get up regardless what's happening and you perform. and I've heard your voice, and we'll talk about some of the songs that you've done in a bit. My goodness,
Yeah.
you've got a powerful voice. I want to hear about the how the family's influenced it. But when you're on stage, is it this like, do you feel like at peace? Is it like a calmness? How do you describe when you're actually?
Oh yeah. I grew up so much with the family. There was always big gatherings. So like mostly my grandparents, they sang a lot for community, and that's where like mum and all her brothers kind of would come, and there'd be the children's band, which was my mum's generation. And then I've kind of come along as, one of the older grandchildren. There's a lot of other grandkids that sing. But like mostly this time of year too now, family getting together for Chrissy, hanging out, the guitars are always out. And that's where I learned. There's some other beautiful singers in my family. I absolutely admire my mum's brothers. There's Uncle Mike and Uncle Merv and Uncle Ash, who are three of mum's brothers that mostly sing a lot, and then their children all sing. So
Wow, that's rare.
Casey Donovan is one of the cousins that sing. Casey hasn't had a lot to do with us, in more recent times, but growing up, like her parents were together, and she was a part of our family when she was really little.
Nice.
Younger than me, and but yeah, I don't know if I'm going off the subject here.
No.
But that's where.
Sorry, I cut you off. I was just saying, no. I love hearing about this. It's very rare that both everyone in your family can sing, and it's so beautiful to hear. Sorry,
Yeah.
I cut you off. You were just saying about your
It
family.
is no, you're right. It's like a comfort place for me. Like, it's funny, families change after people pass, or my mum was like the matriarch. Both my grandparents passed really young. So like my pop passed when I was 9, and then my grandma passed when I was like 16. And so like my mum stepped up in that role for her brothers to be the next kind of, big sister, the matriarch.
Yeah.
All of, my uncles, kids and grandkids looked at her like a grandmother, looked at her like, they looked at her like, the big mama, the big sister. And so she kind of, the way that we're kind of placed in kinship, there's all them relationships that mean so much. So when someone like that passes, there's all that music and all that history there, of songs and, tradition. But sometimes it's hard for people to continue that and carry that.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of have a role now, even though I'm from the younger generation. I still have a lot of older uncles that, I respect and have to respect through my family, to place me in that kind of, family kind of continuation, to make sure that, I feel like music is a place for me to do that, easy.
Yeah.
It's my special place. I'm supported. Family know, they support me, with them songs and times and story to continue.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And then when you're on stage or you're just playing music with family, friends, or some of the previous groups, I call it the flow state. How do you describe that moment where it just feels like you're just singing and just something comes out of you and you don't know what that is? Do you know what I'm talking about? That moment where
I feel like, yeah. Well, there's songs that have their own journeys. There's songs that, there's a song I sing of my granddad's. He wrote in 1972. And I've been sharing some of his old songs, and I share that to like my audiences. But I know my family are watching. I know my family, can see me putting some of these tunes out. They all come with time, I think, and they all come with a special time in your life, to share. But they have their own journeys, these songs. Like even some of the older stuff that I used to play with, a band like the Putbacks, or some of the old songs that I've covered that are Uncle Archie Roach's songs. They're songs that have their own journey and meaning, and it's like, that's where you find that place, when you're up there and you're singing. For me, that's like I said before, it's my happy place. It's my outlet. You know, every gig, I'm so grateful for every gig and time that I can be asked to perform somewhere or asked to be at festivals. You know, the industry's huge. You know, there's so many new artists and new voices and songwriters and people coming all the time. Sometimes I feel like I am coming and going in this space, and that's more to do with the personal thing for me to just like, you know, navigate, still why I'm here, finding reasons for me to, continue sharing story and continuing to write. But it's always been like a thing I've had to do, to be honest. It's something that I not had to do. It's more like my outlet to keep me from being, keeps me sane, keeps me on that pathway that I know. When I talk about my grandmother and my mother being matriarchal, women in my family, I know this is part of my path, and, working out how, to, leave behind my children, what, my grandparents and mother have done for me.
Yeah.
I'll do the same.
That's so nice. And I love the community aspect, the family, because, you guys really value family, and it's a great lesson for all of us, the importance of family. But also it sounds like in the most positive way, you have no choice of music. It's a part of you. You've merged with music. You can't step away. And I know, like, raising children, there's times where, music has to go in the back burner. Have you ever left music and thought you'd never come back? Or have you taken moments of breaks and what brought you back?
Oh my God. I feel like I'm on a bit of a break now, only because I didn't know how to take a break. I overcommitted. There was a point where I overcommitted and I just wanted to do everything.
Yep.
And I had 2 toddlers or I had 2 babies. I was like, no, I can still do this. I didn't want anybody to tell me no. I'm a single parent too. So I've never been, civil, with the other parent, of my children's life. So, they've been the biggest challenges in my life. And that's just a personal road a journey that I've had. But I think I'm stubborn when it comes to like, I can't give up. I don't have a choice. Like I said, I'm very grateful, and I, when I think about success, I think of, being successful is just being, able to continue what I love.
Nice.
It is work. It has become work. But it's something that I love and I'm passionate about. So I look at it as like, a lot of people have jobs they don't like.
Most people.
Yeah. I have something that I love and that I cherish. And, I get to show my children to, how hard I can work and be passionate about it. They've been probably the biggest challenges, is to being able to continue that when you have to, balance
Raise a family, of course.
raise a family, juggle so many things. But that's where my big family comes in, Like I said, I've had that support. It was hard always for me to knock back a gig. I know that gig was going to be, income or, mental health for me to do it, to physically get up and do it. That was my outlet, you know what I mean? It's like, no, that's the reward as much as there's a financial thing attached to it. I've got to keep doing that, and I never stopped over the time that I had my babies, and sent me a bit crazy.
That's life. Also, just having children, you're tired. You have to worry about so many other things. The music industry, as we've spoken about, is already quite volatile. You might get more gigs than not. Some things might not happen. There's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
I hope you can forgive yourself understanding that raising 2 young children is no easy task. Yeah.
I think it's what to do in between them gigs, and I'm getting better at managing and understanding that, I have that time with my kids, and also they're at that age now. I think I've done the hard years. I mean, hopefully there's not too many harder years ahead, but I took them to a lot of gigs. They were backstage. They were in dressing rooms, sleep, when I was on stage. I think they're at that age now where, they get a different education. They get to come with me to festivals. They go to their school and they do all of but they see their mum on stage and they know songs. They know parts. Like one of my daughters already sings harmonies and she's 9.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, this child is destined to
she's going to be a singer?
have music in her life.
Yep.
Yeah, just to have it in her life, and I would encourage it anyhow I could. If she wants to be a singer, she can be whatever she wants. But I know she's got that music running through her veins the same as I did, and it'll always be there.
I'll talk about the touring and having kids. That's really exciting. And you mentioned the break period. What did you learn about yourself during, the moments of breaks? It sounds like it's been quite transformative for you.
I guess maybe I didn't break too much in the times when, you feel that little bit of maybe demand, or you feel like you need to just continuously do gigs to, for that income, or for, to kind of power on. But once you do remove yourself from it and do take a break, I think around that time of COVID is when, obviously a lot of us had a massive break from the industry, and it was a turning point in all of our lives, I think, to, respond to the things that meant the most, which was being with your children, being, in a awesome place, and focus on little less things other than work.
Agreed.
Because, that was all out of our hands, but then it gave us time to kind of set up the next phase of our lives of, okay, if something like that happened again, or anything like that was on the horizons, how would we navigate? How would we do things? It's almost like doing another recording. I notice in your podcast questions, you're talking a lot about, failure. I don't see my life, anything that I've done, as failure. I just look at ways of, okay, that maybe that didn't work that way, but I could probably try and do it different another time. And also how I do things to set up stuff for myself that I want. I want some kind of given or thing for it. It might not come back the way I want it. I don't look at life like that. Yep. I look at life as things will come back. Might come back in other forms, other ways. I'm getting a bit more solid on that way of thinking now. I think
it's a very healthy way.
A little bit more crazy in my younger days. I was a little bit more, aggressive, or a bit more, I need this, I need it to be, but now it's like, whatever, that's life. There's a lot of things.
I was going to say, I love that, because we all have these moments of madness, but it sounds like you've come through with this maturity. I love the learnings, because that's what life's all about. We can't just keep on going. We all make mistakes, but to be like, I'm not even going to look at it. It sounds like you see an experience, you learn from the experience, and then you hopefully do better for the next experience. I think that's very important.
I look at like I love old photos and I love old albums. I inherited all my mother's albums.
Nice.
And she inherited all of her mother's albums. And I look at that time of their life, open these albums, and I look at, that was a snapshot there. It's a similar thing for me as an album. That was a time in your life,
Yep.
You took that little photo then, musical picture, and everything that was happening was all happening then. The next, there's a different time the next time round. Obviously, different with how things are in your life, or the experiences and what you've been through. But yeah, I like to look at my music and, things that I put out like that. And I'm not so much like not sensitive about it all, but I'm just like less, what's the word? Not attached. I don't know the words I'm trying to use here.
No, I think attached is also a good word. You don't look at it with the same, it has to be a certain way lens. You can see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do
That's
you
the one.
how do you go with, because this is always really interesting. I always ask, I've asked a few actors this, how do they go with looking back at some of their old movies, for example? And how do you look back at some of your older albums, your older songs? Are you able to appreciate and enjoy them?
Yeah,
Because as a,
yeah,
as a second point, you said you've gotten better with age, which I love. I think that's very
yeah.
empowering. So how do you go with that?
I think I've learnt at this age how to be a bit more precious with time. Just um, I learnt a lot about timing, and I learnt a lot about
Mm.
unless my mum she had cancer for they it was expected 6 months, but we had her for a year.
Oh, nice.
And like I mentioned before, my grandparents, um, they died really young at young age. Died with heart disease. My mother, she was a diabetic. She had pancreatic cancer. Um, and I think for a while there, it's been 8 years since I lost mum, but I'm still kind of on that journey. It took me a long time. It was a massive hurdle for me. Like, it was a big time of loss for me.
Yeah.
And it was always like, yeah, I got to pump music out. I've just got to do it. It's here. This is the only outlet. This is the only way I feel like I'm doing the right thing, like I'm still being a good daughter, like I'm still being a good mum. This is what I need to do. And that was a no given, even though it was still hard. I did it. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I've learnt a lot about, time is everything. As cruisy as I am, there's certain things I want in this time frame and in this life. I know now. Um, you know, I suppose what I want to leave behind, working towards things like that. How I want to set up my family, how I want to be known in my family. I'm Auntie Emma, I'm mum, I'm niece, and all these things. But it's taking a backseat to all of that now and setting that up.
In
That's
term
where I'm at in my life.
in terms of the music or the family?
Both.
And what's the
Yeah.
priority?
Music is a part of it.
Yeah.
Music is a part of that.
And what's
Because it is part of my family. Yeah.
beautiful. So is the priority now family music? Is that the new transition? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. And yeah, just less pressure about, musically what I want to put out there, more about just what I want to leave and what I'm still young.
I agree.
But I'm a lot more thoughtful about the pace and the energy I put into things. Yeah, now than what I was, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah. You it sounds like you've had big learnings and big internalization and like a review of yourself in a
Yep.
sense, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What's also interesting is I found this really interesting, and we all go through grief at different. We all go through grief differently, and I think in some of your earlier gigs you used to perform at funerals, and there was a quote of yours I just can't find at the moment where you said like our mob actually know how to grieve properly, and I agree.
Oh,
I'd love to know what did you learn from
yeah.
performing at funerals, and how did it give you insights into grief?
Funny, like this Saturday that just went, we had a big funeral. And again, another one of our aunties, similar to my mum. She was like my second mum after mum passed, like, where again, big grief. And I just love it. I'm just like, straight up, like I know, our family know how to come together in them times. We can't do it alone. There's no one that sits out on, their own. From the time that we know, we're all there for each other. And it was
Nice.
such a beautiful service. But yeah, like, I think I've always known how to deal with grief. I've known how to make a noise. Like, I can't sit in silence. If I want to have a big cry, I'll have that big cry. If I want to go and, yarn and talk to family and cousins and, be honest about my heart and my feelings, I never hide away from them things. That's one thing my family's taught me.
That's rare. That's great because everyone suppresses their feelings, sweeps it under the rug, comes out
Yeah,
at different times, and I'm
we all. Yeah. And we all deal with grief. I suppose the biggest thing I learned from mum, losing my mum, was there was some times too when we knew how to do it, but then there was some, like my closest brothers, you know, they didn't know how to do that, and it's taken, you know, we finally got there, but I think I understand that, you know, sometimes that can't happen too. Sometimes people just have to deal with it the way they want, and it's not anybody's fault. It's not anybody's, you know, even though there's a way to do it with the family and they can't, well, they need their space, and yeah.
Well said.
I'm respective of that.
Yeah, of course. And when you were performing these gigs at a young age, was it a joyous occasion? What did you learn? Did it make you a better performer?
Yeah. I feel like I've learnt some pretty heavy songs, some pretty hard songs. Like a lot of them were church songs about meeting on that shore or seeing that person in the next life. Like all the songs were like, see you on the shores, the sweet by and by, see you in the promised land. It was all about how we're going to move forward after that next journey that we do, that we're on. Yep. After we pass, where is that next journey? And so we were always them singers, you know. And so, you know, imagine a 7 or 8 year old just like, you know, constantly, every time she sang with her grandparents, they were the grieving songs that she, you know, and walk around like a, you know. So I know how to deal with grief, like I said, and I know the right way to come together. It's passing that on now to my kids, you know, even on the weekend, like I said, there was that funeral and my little one was there and she's like big eyes watching everything. Yeah. But then my oldest daughter got up and she sang with me, you know, in the church and then at the funeral, and I was like, yeah, this is her introduction. She gonna, you know, she gonna be the same as me.
Oh, that's so nice. And it's also so nice during what can be quite a heavy moment, obviously, and then to gain so much from it. Also, just talking about your daughter observing, like you would have observed when you were younger, seeing what's going on, the joy, the highs, the lows. I feel like if you can do something like that at a young age, that's massively preparing you not only for life, but also your career as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, the biggest thing too that I take away from it is, you know, my daughters, you don't think that kids are around listening to, you know, to harmonies or to anything like that. They're in their own little world, and, you know, I'm there with the uncles and the guitars and all that. But when it came to me getting up and singing in that church, you know, an old song, I heard my daughter, and I've heard her sing harmonies before, but these were beautiful. I didn't rehearse with her or anything. She just like stood beside me and she's like, Mum, can I sing with you? I was like, yeah, come sing with Mum. And then, you know, before you know it, all the uncles have heard her and they're just like, oh, geez, Emma, that's you. That's you when you was little, you know.
Yeah.
So I know I'm on the right track.
Yes.
I think I'm already started.
Exactly. And then, you know, maybe there'll be a similar timeline with your daughter with your musical career as well. And
yeah, hopefully. Yeah, that would be lovely.
Did you start off with was the first major group that you joined, was it the Stiff Gins? And what did you learn from an experience like that?
Yeah, I was pretty young. I just enrolled at the TAFE at Redfern. And that's where we all met at a TAFE kind of enrolled in certificate, what is it? Contemporary music course. It was like cert 3 or 4 something. I was a little bit cheeky. I just knew I wanted to sing, and Mum's like, you need to do a TAFE. If you want to do music, you need to go do TAFE. My thing with the Stiff Tunes was, you know, we started writing music. And it was the first time I'd left kind of like my musical Donovan family, you know, singing all the country, singing all the gospel, being, you know, the young granddaughter in this, you know, family. And then, you know, meeting 2 young Aboriginal women, you know, Nadi and Kalina from Stiff Tunes. And, you know, there was all kind of bands and people hanging out. Every time there was spare time, we'd just go and hang in, like, you know, the setup rooms where we could play music, and we just gelled and connected. A really strong hit home, and that's when I first, you know, I was always writing, but I never would share stuff. And then I remember just writing and being able to like go, okay, I'm not in my family circle. I can share what's you know, on my mind, or, you know, if anybody cares about what I've written, this is the space, you know, when I look back at it. But then that group, I left when I was like 19, so I was like there for like 3 years with them.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome that they've continued it. That band now was always a girl pact to say that, you know, we're going to continue it. But I think I was still a stubborn young girl. Like, you know, you couldn't tell me nothing. It's like, I think my biggest thing was I don't want to keep playing with like acoustic. I want to be in a band, like a full band, you know. I think that was my thing. I can't even remember why I left, to be honest. But I loved them, and I learned. I wrote my first album with them.
That's all.
And I left them. You know, it was a cool experience. It was the start of like some community gigs, and I always remember us getting gigs and mob saying in the community, "Oh, you're Miko and Aileen." Like, I'd get gigs like, "You're Miko and Aileen's granddaughter. Who are you to Miko and Aileen?" Or, "Who are you to Hilton Donovan?" Or, "Who are you to Leon Donovan?" And they were all I'm like, oh, so people knew my family.
Yeah.
You know, as far as Sydney, people knew the Donovan family from the coast, you know, and they were like, "Oh, you know, we know your nana, or we know your uncle." Yeah.
That's so nice.
Do you want to come and sing at NAIDOC? Do you want to come and sing at, you know, we're doing a thing down here, you know, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm with Stiff Gins, like, book us," you know. So I started getting my first gigs. Yeah.
Wow, it's such a young age as well. And I love, just because of the respect of your family as well, and obviously you, that people just go, "You're part of the family. We love you. How can we help you? Can we book a gig?" That's very rare. That shows a high integrity family.
is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not many people would just go, "Okay, you're a Donovan. Let's chat." So I think that's beautiful to the family and the legacy that you guys have built. With you mentioned, was there like a hierarchy when when you were with the Donovans? Because you said you finally were able to share your, you know, songs when you're in the family band.
So they were my uncles. So they were
Yeah.
like my mum's brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was like Uncle Merv, like, he's the eldest uncle. And then the middle uncle, Uncle Mike, he kind of takes most lead of the Donovans.
Yeah.
But, you know, uncle territory, you don't overstep anyone. You know, you're still niece. And even to this day, I have biggest respect to my uncles. I would never challenge them musically, or, you know, I would never... I'd always want to respect them. When I ask to sing my pop songs, I double check, Unc, you know, if I want to use any of my grandmother or grandmother's images for things, I double check in, send a little message, and, "Hey, Uncs, I'm releasing this. Can just double checking, you know, can I use Nen and Pop's, you know, photo as the artwork or something, you know?" That's cool. Yeah, always like to check in with them.
That's very nice. And from the collaboration side, I would imagine when you're in a band like that, I don't know if the right word, there's a hierarchy, but when you're with the Stiff Gins or maybe the Putbacks or the Black Arm Band, are you able to collaborate more to the individual being you? Or is it still there's like, this is the lead, this is how it goes?
I think with Stiff Chins, it was a collaborative group thing. There was never one of us more. You know, we brought everything. We all brought lyrics. We all brought melodies. Well, if anything, Nardi probably played more instruments than both me and Kalina there. Black Armband time was a bit different because there was, you know, it was a full company. There was a director. There was vocal, you know, musical. You know, there was people doing different arrangements. You know, even though they were members of the full band, there'd be people that you'd collab with, or you'd be set up to kind of collab and go, "Okay, you guys do something together, you guys do something together," to put, you know, to bring this whole show together. But it was under direction, meaning that there had to always be some kind of, you know, a show like Dirt Song. They had like a, you know, theme or something behind it that would kind of push the inspiration of what it was about or something like that. So you'd have to kind of write to a specific kind of, you know, story. Gotcha. And then there was shows like, you know, the Black Armband Murrinduck show, which was the Freedom Freedom Show, which had existing material that were all songs that I'd grown up onto, you know, from the 70s, that were big kind of, you know, tunes that our fathers and mothers kind of, you know, knew that I was just so happy to be a part of, because I was like, that was the first kind of project, because I was like, I didn't have any lead parts. I was just doing all backing. But to be in that band and do backing for people like, you know, Auntie Ruby and Uncle Bart Willoughby and Uncle Arch, like that was my first ever time.
Yeah.
You know, there was a question there that you wrote about your big break. I think that was my big break for my career.
Yeah.
But the time I stepped into that company, stepped out on to them, like that was my training ground. You know, that was my. I met members of the Putbacks. You know, Mickey Marr and Rory McDougall. They were the rhythm section for that band for years. So
really?
Toured for 15 years before I started with the Putbacks. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of like my way into. You know, I toured so much with the Putbacks. I mean, with Black Arm Band, and then
even
1 year
internationally,
Rory's like Ems.
Well.
Yeah, and then 1 year Rory's like, Ems, you should check our band out. I'm like, what's your band? He's like, the Putbacks. And I think, you know, there was a Melbourne gig. I'd come all the time to Melbourne to do rehearsals with Black Arm Band.
Yep.
And then one time he's like, you got to stay and watch a gig. And I'm like, okay, I'll stay. And that was it. Fell in love with them.
That's so wonderful, and I like the learning ground. Like that was almost like your degree. I know you did the degree, but learning from a group like that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's similar to my family. So the Black Arm Band was this net of people and family that became family. And you talk about hierarchy. Don't know if that's the word I'd use for blackfellow ways, but no, that's all right. But it's a similar meaning, I suppose, to how it would work, and that's through kinship and just respecting older people, and just that, you know, that kind of same in Aboriginal families. I kind of went from like the Donovan family, where I respected obviously my grandparents, then there was my uncles and that generation, then I come from this next generation, and there'll be a generation under me that will, you know, be looking up to me. It's a similar thing in Black Arm Band, you know, where you had the older people. You had Uncle Arch, you had Uncle Kutcha, Edwards, Uncle Joey Geyer, the older people, and then you had these younger generations of like, you know, myself, Dan Sultan, Ursula Jovic, you know, who came in there and, you know, were learning, but most importantly got cradled and got nurtured and got loved, you know,
that's rare.
In a company like that. To go and continue stories, you know, of our people. Yeah, it was a beautiful project.
Yes, and it's, you know, that's a long experience that you would hold on for the rest of your life. Also impact obviously the career, but life, the way that you interact with people, see the world, all of that. That's amazing. And then what I find really interesting is that with the Putbacks, I believe you were resistant to join at the start because you said that they had a different style to you and you had a little bit of imposter syndrome. What was it that allowed you to put all of that and go, you know, this is not real, I'm going to join the band?
Well, I was a little doubted myself a lot when it came to soul. I'd come from like a big country music, you know, background, like, you know, then with Black Arm Band, you know, it was more about, you know, tunes from, you know, Aboriginal voice, our songwomen and our songmen, and, you know, tunes to kind of uplift mob and community. I remember one of the Putbacks just kept burning me, good old burning CDs days.
Oh, burning CDs.
Wouldn't send a playlist or anything, but not in them days. But it wasn't even far away. But I remember just, you know, the blank CD with a whole bunch of tunes, like, Ems, listen to these. This is what we dig. This is what we're into. And Tommy Martin came out of Hope Street, which is, you know, I think they just celebrated like 10 or 16 years now. No, they celebrated 16 years. Hope Street Recordings, which was in Brunswick, and they were like, he's like, you know, we're part of a label here. Be cool if we did a collab. Like they'd been already recording and playing together for years.
Yep.
When they played mostly as instrumental, you know, instrumentalist. And then I remember just getting a CD burnt saying, this is what we're into, you know, and then one of them was like, and this is some of the stuff we're into, and then this is like some of our instrumentals. Like if you got any ideas around that, you know, have a whale, or let's catch up and have a rehearsal. You can have a sing, you know, get some ideas. But I remember that feeling because I was like, I don't know any of this style. I was like, this is not. This is cool though. I dug it. I loved it. It was so different, you know, and there'll never be anything like it. You know, whatever I do from here on out, that was Putback magic, you know, that, you know, I met with mine.
Yep.
And we did something amazing together on 3 records actually.
Wow.
And on 3 beautiful records. And time of my life, again, another big learning, you know, space for me. I grew up a little bit, I think, there. I learned a lot about myself, especially becoming band members too, you know, becoming a band, you know, with 6 of us. So yeah, learn a lot about. I wrote a lot. I was in a safety bubble. I was like, I can say what I want to say. Yes. And I've got backup. I've got back up.
That must be really rare because as we said, with different bands or different groups, there is kind of a way. And then if there's a way and it's not 100% alignment, it can be quite scary to, you know, it's very vulnerable to songwrite. So when you're in a group where you're...
always vulnerable. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I got off my chest. I didn't think I'd ever share with anyone, but I did. I was like in that space where I went, no, I can say what I want.
Yeah.
I'm never be apologetic, you know. If anything, it's like this stuff needs to get out. By that time, I was in a few heavy relationships, and you know, Dawn come off the back of like, you know, almost suicide. It was just, you know, I was at a really horrible time in my life from like personal, you know, my personal relationship and life as a young woman. I was very lost. So yeah, that whole outfit, that whole band, everything from writing and just keeping busy at the very first time, being productive and learning how to just like bring songs together with amazing, generous people. Generosity in that band. There'd be nothing like it, I reckon.
Oh, wow. What a compliment.
It was pretty special.
From that whole experience, did you find that mentally things kind of opened up for you and you felt more light? Was it through the band and the collaboration, the experience?
Yeah. There's, well, during, you know, the time that I was ready to leave, I'd become a mum too, you know, so I was just like a little bit more, you know, worked out a lot about what I needed for myself, for, you know, being a mum, being a singer, being a songwriter. I learned a lot about what I needed for myself. So, and that was probably the reason why I kind of left that outfit too, you know, and wanted to kind of do other things. And, you know, there's a lot at stake, but it's just, you know, so personal and so touchy, because, you know, if you in a band like that for over 10 years, close to 10 years, they become like family. And, you know, when I throw around words like, my brothers or my sisters, you know, they really were my brothers. It's pretty hard to, you know, you like navigate or, you know, separate yourself from, you know, how you want to kind of, I'm getting twisted up with all my words here, but it's a pretty personal time, I guess. when I left. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. But on that, I think what's really interesting is that you had the courage to leave despite everything you were feeling and what you were going on. You obviously felt something within you where you were destined to be, to go solo, especially at that stage. There was obviously like
A lot of
calling.
confidence in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely grew confidence. Definitely kind of, started understanding more about, what I deserve and what I believe I need, I should, have for myself and my family. Put in a lot of work, and there was that time when I did get a bit burnt, but it was more because I couldn't say no to anything that came our way. I totally burnt myself out, and I wish I had other ways and skills to kind of work out how I could have made that a bit better.
Yeah.
I wish I had the skills or even just the knowledge, not knowledge, it was more to do with, just ways that I could have just gone, just chill, take it easy, take a bit of time off, or take,
Yeah.
But it is what it was.
Yeah, and you've learned. You said that you've learned so much and grown.
Learnt about that.
Yeah, beautiful.
It was hard because, it's such a beautiful musical project, but, sometimes you just got to, move on and find these steps, to the next place.
Hey, can you tell me about those depths? Because
don't know sometimes where them steps are.
Yeah,
sometimes I'm
we
like,
never do.
okay, I've got to go this way now. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, but what way? Look, it's just this way. Something will happen. I'm not chilled. I'm not phased. I just need to look after myself.
Yeah.
Need to keep good health. Need to continue being a good mum as much as I am a good musician and a songwriter. There's other things I need to do, before I can kind of walk out the door again and make things, happen for myself.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I've heard you in another interview, you talked about how you look for signs in songwriting as well, and that really inspires you.
Oh, yeah.
Were you looking for signs?
I think sometimes the depth and the roller coasters that I've had in my life, I've had to dream up a few scenarios. So it's like, if it's like dreaming up this great, part of my life or the perfect person to be and settle with, then I'm just going to put that out there. I think sometimes I just do that, almost like so I can practice what I preach. Oh, well, I said that, put that out in the world now. I've got to make that happen.
Yeah. That's great.
And I do that sometimes with one-liners or something. It's kind of a bit cheeky and being a bit gam and like, you're so full of it, Emma. You better say that because then you got to hold yourself to it.
Is that like the concept of manifesting where you put it out?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Oh,
but I do it with lyrics or put it in music, yeah. Or like I call it like dreaming up, dreaming up that next, yeah.
And you don't need to answer this because you've obviously got a very strong knowledge of your people and the Aboriginal culture as well. With church, is that like an Aboriginal church or is it a separate, there's like Greek Orthodox and Catholicism and all of that stuff. How do they intertwine?
So most of the church, someone said to me the other week, I was singing at the not karaoke, I was singing at the carols here in Maxwell in the Nambucca Valley the other night.
Yep.
And this one fella walked up to me and he goes, "Are you from the church?" And I said, "Oh, no, not really. I don't go to church." He goes, "That music, that style that you were playing," he goes, "it sounded like church music." He goes, "Your style, like your voice, your energy." And I was like, "Thank you. Thank you for complimenting, me for that." I said, "I feel like my influences have come from church." And when I say that, my grandparents, when they met, they came from two different missions. So you got Kempsey Mission, they call it Old Burnt Bridge Mission. That used to be a 7-day Adventist church back, early 1900s, we're talking, for my grandmother to grow up there. And she was a Quinlan, her surname was like Quinlan, Bradshaw, so it was all Dungari families there going to Burnt Bridge Mish. Then as you come through, you leave Kempsey and you come into the Nambucca Valley, you got like Worrell Creek, Worrell Creek, Barraville, Nambucca, which is the valley. Then at the back of Maxwell, you got another old mission, and it's still the mish out here, Barraville Mish. And my grandfather went to that mission. And that was more like a Catholic mission. And the story is that Pop, there was old nuns that would teach him, music and the church music from there. And that's where he picked up piano, he picked up the guitar, he picked up all these, instruments. And then, so when him and my nan met, they kind of knew all these church songs. And that's what they sang. And then the music that my grandfather wrote was kind of gospel music.
Okay.
He was writing, well, they love country. They love country, They had all these like cheeky little country duets, that they'd sing. They were like the little Kenny and Dolly of the Nambucca Valley, they sung comical songs too about, family relationships, And then they wrote football songs. They wrote Christmas songs. They wrote a lot of songs. But yeah, sorry, I keep moving the most biggest influence was gospel songs. And I guess they're the songs that I knew growing up because they were the songs that they taught us to sing. It wasn't until like my mum was, she was raising me and my brother, and she'd be throwing in all the Loretta Lynn, Connie Francis, Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton. She'd just go straight country, Mum. Yep. But a lot of the missions from different Aboriginal communities were influenced a lot by churches, and it's different for different areas.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of the mission life for our old people, was very, came from, their mission came from the church life. And so that's a big influence musically.
Yeah. I'm just trying to look for a book that I've got, but which was more from, it's a spiritual book about the one tribe, I guess, from the Aboriginal people, but Voices of the First Day. I've had this book that I haven't read. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's meant to be quite a spiritual book. And I've just on my desk and I haven't read it yet. And that's really interesting, the influence that came from early.
There's a lot of old traditional like Aboriginal songs from this area where I am now. I'm doing this podcast from Gumbaynggirr country, which is Pop's country in mid-north coast of New South Wales, and there's a lot of old traditional Aboriginal songs from this area. But most of my musical influences have come from, I suppose, the church, like the mission times, from when my grandfather learnt, traditional hymns and made them country, made them, his. And then he started writing. So that's kind of my upbringing of my family music, which, and look, the empowerment of language in this community now has crossed over. There's better, speakers and, linguists, people that speak better Gumbaynggirr than me. I feel like it wasn't something I grew up with. It's not something that I, had words here and there, but they weren't fluent. And, but my contribution to music in this community or my family is making sure that I can kind of get translation, get help with including more language songs. And I've done that like in some of my music.
I just saw
like the kids tunes, trying to get an understanding for my kids to learn more in the community here. And I'm going to continue that. Like, that's a big thing on my list.
That's brilliant. And I also saw, go on.
To learn more Gumbaynggirr. Sorry, just to learn more language, like
No,
to be a better speaker.
that's
Yeah.
brilliant. How many language is that your second language?
So yeah, English was my first, like
Mm,
growing up. Um, even for my mum and both her and my dad, but their parents were the ones that kind of had.
gotcha.
Actually, even their grandparents were more fluent than their mum and dads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also saw in.
Um,
I don't. Sorry, you go. Sorry.
no, you're right. I just keep talking. That's all.
No, 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 no,
Sorry.
no. I love it. I'm mesmerized. Because I also saw in your take on Take Me to the River, which is phenomenal.
Oh,
It's in the episode notes. You added in, I didn't know what language it was. I assumed it was from your family side. You did your take on it, and I found that really interesting. Is
yeah.
that part of, adding that into, to the world and showing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was me showing a perspective to like an iconic song like, Take Me to the River, Our Green. But also, you know, when you say the river here, the Bindere here, when you talk about that river and what it means for Gumbaynggirr mob, we all get it. It's like we go back there. A lot of us have left. We live in places like Melbourne, Sydney, but when we go home, we're going home to that river. We go home for, everything that gives us that fish, that swim, that time for, with families. And I thought a way to share that perspective on it, the little Gumbaynggirr touch, was to add the language. Yeah,
Oh,
a verse of it.
it's brilliant, and you could feel it, even though I
Yeah.
don't understand the words. You can feel exactly what you're saying as well. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I believe, did you have your kids in the video as well?
Yeah, yeah, I did. And it was like all about us going home, to the river. Yeah.
How does it feel to have some?
That trip, because,
Yeah, go.
no, I just was going to say places like Nambucca and places like Bunbury, like where all my family are from. I grew up more there when I was a kid, and I went away, or my mum and dad took us away. So it was always a place to return. So now in my life, like I've returned here to raise and bring my kids up here on country, on Gumbaynggirr country. I feel like that's something I have to give them.
Yep.
In between all the gigs,
Yeah.
we'll always come home to here. It's
Yeah,
like that's a
that's
thing
home.
now. It's like I got to do that.
Nice.
And by country here. But yeah, that was the whole timing of it. It was like that's literally what was happening in my life. I was like, okay, let's just do that. Let's do the whole clip about just getting in that car and going and driving up there
I was wondering.
to
Yeah.
Nambucca.
Cool. It's really great. And as I said, people check it out in the episode notes. It's awesome. And how does it feel to have it out?
Yeah, no, it feels good. I was always a little bit nervous, I guess, at the start about, doing some big covers, but yeah, like people know these tunes, and it's like, what more of a way that they can get to know me, than, sing a few of these songs that, hit home. And the last single has been the Ann Peebles one. Actually, didn't even know Ann. I mean, I kind of vaguely knew Ann Peebles, but I got to know her more during my time with the Putbacks. So, singing an Ann Peebles, who would have thought I would have sang an Ann Peebles song?
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have if I didn't meet a band like the Putbacks sharing me all her good stuff. Tommy used to share, me and Tommy from the Putbacks used to share Ann Peebles.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And tying back to, you mentioned that a few years ago was a challenging period. Now it sounds like, and it looks like you're doing all of these things, putting out new songs. How do you feel now? There's obviously this maturity. I'm seeing you smile. There's obviously a new,
Yeah.
new lease on life. Can
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm home on, my grandfather's country. I'm sitting in the home of my cousins. We're ready to, have our own home soon here. Get that set up for the new year, and then, do some possibly, some more beautiful gigs for 2026. But I suppose I'm in some good management hands too. I've got a good team.
That's great.
working it all out, doing all the hard stuff. Me, I don't have to worry about it too much. I've got some really good people in my life that sort me out. Still have the connections and respect with a label that invested in my first ever solo album after the Putbacks, and it's nice to feel that you're loved from a label, and that these guys kind of have that faith or belief in you, that they continue to support you. I'm really thankful for stuff like that. I don't take that stuff light. No, it's a big thing for me to be a 44-year-old Aboriginal woman in this industry, and still having the love and faith of people to believe in you, to continue to keep pressing record and keep understanding and loving your music. I don't take it lightly. It's something I'm really thankful for. And I've reached that point in my age where it's like, I can do it. I've just got to, if I'm going to do it now, I've got to do it right.
What does that mean to
I'm
you?
not, it means I'm going to do it with the right intention and the right people to help me make it, not so stressful. I suppose there's been times when I put out music and it's just a bit wobbly, and put out, I want to be a lot more strategic. I can't afford not to be, organised. I have to be organised now. I've got 2 little ones. I'm older. There's some other, like I said, I think of time and things I want to leave behind now, and I'm a lot more relaxed about it.
I love
how
it.
How I want it rolled out.
Well, it sounds like as I said, and I love your attitude and your outlook on this. It's just like you've got a lot of trust, and it also goes both ways. The reason they trust you and want to work with you is because obviously you exhibit all these positive characteristics, and not only is your music good, it takes two to tango. So you've earned all these great collaborations. So that's really awesome.
Thanks. And it's not to say that things haven't, there's been times when things haven't worked, or I haven't had the, you could, like I said about that snapshot, it's got to get better. Your music is, being produced. I'm always looking at other ways to produce my music better, or to have the right team and the right people to make it easy. I'm all about that now. Why shouldn't I be? I've got a lot more to give. I've got a lot more to write about and sing about. So, yeah.
Brilliant. That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful, I love the learnings you've had. You've got a very beautiful mindset on life. Before we go, how can people follow you and keep up to date with you?
Definitely my website. Always got their links to, gigs, and the good old socials. Believe it or not, I have a TikTok account. I never thought I'd ever have a TikTok. I'm the one telling my kids they don't need TikTok, but I have one. But it's similar kind of, videos and messages would be out there, the same as like Insta and, Facebook. But for those that have been following us, thanks for, always your support, I guess, and checking in on what I'm up to.
Cool. We'll put that also in the episode notes so people can check it out. Thank you. This was great. And we'll chat sometime in the future. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Michael, have a good one. And thanks. I did see your questions from I was like, wow, that's gonna, that's a lot. But it's a lot more cruisier in person, yarning to ya. And they're pretty important subjects, for creative. So thanks for, considering us, in your podcast today.
I love how Emma is able to recognize in her life when she has perhaps pushed herself too hard or too much, and how ultimately that led to burnout. She talks about now having a great team and has recognized the signs when to pull back and to honor herself. She brilliantly announces with age, wisdom, and learnings that she's in fact getting better with time and still has so much more to give. I love how she's embraced her confidence and her intuition. One of my takeaways is that Emma reminds us that our future has endless possibilities and we can use our experience to keep growing, improving, and we get better with time. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Emil Koo. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy and life.